Hey everyone, so as you probably know, I'm a pretty big fan of fights and just physical hockey in general. I think it makes the game better, it's more entertaining, it's more fun to watch. So physicality and violence are a good thing in hockey. So now that we're about a little over, but about a month into the season, let's look at the fight leaders in the NHL, both team-wise and player-wise. So first we're going to do teams here. And as you can see, Boston is leading the way with 8 fights. Nashville's in second with 7. Dallas, Edmonton, and Florida all have 6. Colorado, New Jersey, and Vancouver have 5. And then Arizona, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, and Washington have 4 fights apiece as teams. Fighting has been down a little bit to start this year. Which is normal. The start of the season is usually lighter fight-wise. It's usually December, January, February that really carry the load and have lots of fights. And then October and the first half of November are usually pretty light. And then as you get towards the end of the season and into the playoffs, it lightens up again. So the fight rate, there's been 53 fights so far this year. The fight rate is at .25 per game. Last year, last season ended with a .30 per game rate. So we're lower than last year, but it's still early and we're not into that time where it usually goes up. So I'm not worried yet about the fight rate. I think as we get towards Christmas, it's going to get closer to .30, and I think if we have a good December, January, February, then the fight rate will probably be higher this year than it was last year. But that's dependent on the middle portion of the season when most fights happen. So as for surprises, I think it's a surprise that Boston leads the team in fights, leads the NHL team-wise in fights. I don't think they really had the lineup that a lot of people expected to do that, but they've gotten multiple fights from Adam McQuaid, Kevin Miller, and Matt Bolesky. So they're really spreading the workload out, and they're leading the way right now, which I think is a bit of a surprise. Nashville is not a surprise to be in second. They've got Cody McLeod and Austin Watson, so you knew with a team with 2 fighters on it is going to be high up there. Dallas, Edmonton, both also tough lineups, so not really surprising that they're high up on the list. Florida, the only reason they're up there is because of Michael Haley, and I'll talk more about him later, but Haley has 5 of their 6 fights. So when any team with Haley on it is going to be somewhat near the top, or unless he's literally the only guy, which so far for Florida he has. So as other teams start to fight more, I think Florida will end up dropping in the standings or the rankings as far as fights go. Colorado's a bit of a surprise. They do not boast a really tough lineup. They don't have a true fighter in it, but Nikita Zadorov's fought twice already. They've gotten some fights from guys who don't really normally fight, so that's I don't expect Colorado to stay in the top 10 as the season goes on. New Jersey is kind of like low-key tough. They're under the radar toughness-wise a little bit. Miles Wood, Blake Coleman both can throw them. Dalton Prout can throw them. So New Jersey isn't thought of as one of the tough teams the way Nashville and Edmonton are, but they've got guys who can drop them. Vancouver's got Dorsett and Goodbranson, so there's your fights right there. Arizona's got Luke Shen and a couple other guys willing to go. Ottawa, Mark Borowiecki leads the way there. So Tampa Bay is kind of a team toughness thing, and then Washington's got Tom Wilson. So not a ton of surprises. I think some surprises would be who's not on the list. Teams like LA and Anaheim, who normally are near the top of the league in fights. You don't see Calgary on this list. They're usually up there in fights. Really, a lot of those Pacific Division teams, Edmonton's there, but the rest of the toughness in the Pacific Division aren't there yet. So we'll see how this shakes out, as the season goes on and what this looks like a month from now. But so far, it's been Boston and Nashville leading the way. Now, as far as players go, Michael Haley leads the NHL with 5 fights. He has 5 of Florida's 6 fights. I really like Michael Haley as a player. He's a small guy. He's only like 5'10", maybe 200 pounds, but he is absolutely always willing to go with anyone on the ice. He really, ton of heart and ton of character from a guy like him. I would take him on my team any day. He found a home in Florida because Florida kind of stinks. They're not a very good team, so they don't, throwing him on the 4th line isn't a big deal for them. But he's a really good guy to have around, and I'd almost like to see a team trade for him at the deadline for some depth and some toughness on the 4th line. A playoff team trade for him and bring him in to play in their bottom 6. Cody McLeod in Nashville has 4 already. It's no surprise that he's near the top of the league. He's one of the last few, true fighters left, and he's always willing to go. Mark Borowiecki from Ottawa has 3. He's another real tough stay-at-home defenseman who drops the gloves a lot, so it's not surprising he's on the list. Pittsburgh finally has a tough guy in Ryan Reeves, and Reeves has done his job very well so far. He's chipped in offensively. He's also gotten in 3 fights. 2 of them against Nashville, so he's looked good as a Penguin, and I think a lot of Penguin fans I saw on social media complaining about the trade when they brought in Reeves. I think he's become a fan favorite, and I see a lot of people a lot of Pittsburgh fans really like Reeves at this point, and he's a great locker room guy, a great guy to have on the team, and he protects his players. So he's a good guy to have around in Pittsburgh. And Tom Wilson, no surprise there, 3 fights this year. He's really, Washington doesn't have much for toughness. He does almost all of their fighting, and he's leading the way for them. And then there's 13 guys with 2 fights so far. Way too many to name all of them. It's just, the fighting is pretty spread out. There's not a lot of guys who blow away everyone else and lead their teams. It's kind of a fight by committee league at this point, with the enforcers gone. But there's still guys like Cody McLeod, guys like Michael Haley. Those guys are still around. Ryan Reeves. So bit of a slow start fight wise, but still, nothing. Fighting's not dead or anything like that, which some people might have you think. It's not the case at all. So that's just the fight leaders so far. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow us on social media, Twitter and Facebook. Links are in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and talk to you guys soon.